Hello, welcome to lesson 33. This is rounding using a number line. Now, we round numbers for various reasons. In different situations, such as maybe within your church attendance. If you say our church is maybe about 500 people or maybe about 700 people. You don't give an exact number usually when you're calculating an attendance of a large group of people or even maybe a football game or a concert. All those things are usually rounded either up or rounded down depending on the numbers and depending on whether they want to round to hundreds or thousands. So we have exact numbers, which is such as we have exactly 29 kids in the 5th grade this year. Rounded numbers would say we have about 30 kids in the 5th grade this year. So these different statements show either rounded numbers or exact numbers, and we're going to write to kind of determine which is which. So the first one says about 600 people attended the homecoming game. Do you think this is rounded or do you think this is exact? This is indeed rounded, so I'm going to put an R. And the reason for that being is our key word is about. I'm saying about. I'm not saying 600 people attended the homecoming game. Because if they did, then that might be an exact number. But I'm saying about that many people. So it could have been more and it could have been less. The next statement says the attendance at the game was 614. Is that rounded or is that exact? That would be exact because it says that was the attendance. I'm not saying there was about 614 people. It's a little random. The next statement, the price of the shoes was $48.97. Exact or rounded? Again, that is exact because I'm not going to tell you that maybe, let me think, something that recently came out. If I tell you that maybe the latest movie cost $19.87, I'm going to say it costs about $20 because that's more of a rounded guess, and it's also easier to kind of plan in advance as far as, okay, well, it could be more and it could also be less, depending on where you get the movies or movie. So the last statement says the shoes cost about $50. Exact or rounded? It is indeed rounded because another statement that has the word about. The shoes cost about $50. They might not cost exactly $50. It might be $51 or maybe it's $49 or $48. It's all we know is that's about $50. It's an expensive pair of shoes. So our example problem that we have says round 523 to the nearest 100. Now when I want to look at my rounding numbers or the numbers I need to round, I know I'm rounding my hundreds place, so I'm going to underline my hundreds place, but what I'm going to look at, just looking at the number even without a number line, is I'm going to look at its neighbor next door to the right, which is a 2. That 2 is less than 5 because 5 is always our halfway point, whether it's 5 or 50 or 500 or 5,000. That's usually going to be it is always going to be our halfway point whenever we're determining rounding. Because if it's less than 5, I round down. If it's more than 5, I round up. In this case, it is less than 5, so that means I'm going to round down. I'm not rounding down to 400. I'm rounding down to the closest hundreds. So if I were to write it on a number line here, 523 would maybe be about here. Which again, it's not closer to 600 and it's definitely not closer to 400. It's closer to 500, so that's what I rounded down to. It's really important to realize that because I've seen mistakes before. If rounding has been kind of difficult for you in the past or you don't usually remember what you're supposed to be rounding to, you're not rounding down a whole nother hundreds place. Like, I'm not rounding because this is a 2 and I'm rounding down, so it's going down to 400. That's way too far. That's over 100 less than 523. We want to be as close as possible to our exact number. All right, here's the practice set. The practice set, the ones in purple here, A, B, C, and D, you're rounding to the nearest tens place. E, F, G, and H, you're rounding to the nearest hundreds, or the nearest hundred. Now, I put a number line up here to kind of go over as far as rounding to the tens place. Again, the tens place is actually fairly simple, because if I were to round, let's say, the number 16, which is right here, I'm just going to color the number so that you might be able to see it. There we go. I'm rounding to 16. Well, I'm 1, 2, 3, 4 away from 20. And I'm 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 away from 10. So I'm closer to the nearest tens, which is 20. Again, the reason for that being is that if I look at my ones place, which is a 1, and then I look at its partner, right here big so that way you can see it. If I'm rounding to my tens place, I start with my tens, I'm going to look to its partner next door to the right. Looking to the right side, which is a 6, that's greater than 5. That means I'm rounding up to my next 10. So instead of going down to 10, I'm going up to 20. So same thing for all of these. 72, you're going to look at the partner next door to the right in the tens place, since I'm rounding my tens. Partner next door, it's a 2, less than 5. 7, more than 5. 9, more than 5. And 5, if you actually have your 5s place, I do need to let you know that you do round up still. So 5 or more, go up. Less than 5, go down. Thank you very much for paying attention, and I hope this has been a quick, easy review for you.